Hello, everyone. Herb Strather, and thank you so much for joining me. I can assure you, you're going to have a fabulous webinar. So I'll tell you what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take it, get you a great cup of coffee. And if your spouse or significant other is around, have them join you, because this is going to be an experience that I hope you remember a long time. You look back on your life. I'm going to bring up subject matter and what we're going to talk about today. This is exciting. We're talking about, very simply, how you can acquire a property like this, especially in times like these, without using your cash. Now, this is Crescent House Apartments. It's a beautiful 120-unit building in Detroit. And I've always loved it. I was the first one to ever sell it, and I've bought and sold it a few times. The first time I bought it and pulled $60,000 out at the time of closing without putting up any cash. And I had about 150 in escrow to do upgrades. Now, I can show you how to do this because I've done it many, many, many times. More than 200 times I've bought property like this and never have put any money. And I want to show you how to do it. But I'll tell you about me in a minute. So let's get started. Here's what you're going to learn. In this free Strather Academy webinar, you're going to learn, and you're going to learn about what tools you need to be successful inquiring or brokering. If you're a broker in income property, you can stop being a broker forever, and you can put the deals together yourself. And many of these investors you have, they will be happy to join you. But I can show you how to put it together without putting up cash. And it's a real simple proposition, and you can figure that out yourself. If interest rates are only 3 or 4% and cap rates are 7, 8, 9, or 10, why do you need to put money down? Obviously, the banks want 125% debt coverage. You easily got that. That's the hard part. You got plenty of cash flow. The only thing that you have to do is satisfy the equity requirements, and it's all in how you structure the transaction. Now, that's a quick thing, but we won't go so fast. I'm going to show you how to run the performance, structure the deal so that you can do this. Because you got to be able to structure the deal yourself. And we have a fabulous performer that I've created, and I've used it 1,000 times. And I'm going to give you some real case studies on how you can make money and buy real estate right now. I'm going to show you a deal that we're in the middle of closing right now. We're in the middle of, we just got it tied up, and we're in the middle of making it happen. And I'm going to show you how you can become financially secure forever without a computer, a cell phone, a car. No, I'm sorry. Let's get that straight. Let's rewind that. How you can become financially secure forever with a computer, a cell phone, and a car, and a commitment instead of cash, credit, and collateral. I don't want to be reading this stuff. I already know it. I'm Herbert from Herbert Street. This is the house I actually lived in. I lived in several houses, but being poor was quite a blessing, I found out. And in challenging times, when I grew up, it was very challenging. I stuttered, I was poor, and I had a C average on a good day. Believe me, on a good day, I had a C average. Then the West Side Optimist Club came along and it saved my life. I entered an oratorical contest and I won the contest a few times. And I became class president. Can you believe that? Somebody like me becoming class president? But when I was young, it created such a burning desire, but I had no money. So in order for me to succeed, I had to take and be able to put deals together without cash, because I had no cash. So I've closed about 80% of all of the apartment units in Northwest Detroit. And that would be to say that if you started Wyoming Street to Finkel, and you went all the way to 8 Mile, and you went all the way to our city limits, I've closed 80% of all of the units in this part of Northwest Detroit, which is Northwest Detroit by definition. Now, right now, I'm an advocate. I've established 150 Optimist Clubs because I've given back to the organization that saved my life as a kid. Boy, I look back on that. And so I've created 150 clubs, and I created the Optimist Youth Foundation. I donated a couple $1 million, and we've awarded more than 3,000 scholarships to young people. And today, my goal is to share my knowledge with you, with colleagues, and the next generation of developers that's willing to champion Detroit and other urban areas. I have compassion for urban areas, although these skills are applicable no matter where you go. I mean, if you could be anywhere in the world and you can still apply these skills. So now I'm best known for closing the $2 billion in deals without putting up cash. Woodbridge Estates, this beautiful development right here, cost me $100 million. I was the majority developer, and I had some partners in it. It won a Hope 6 award. 1,100 units altogether. I created casinos in Detroit. As a matter of fact, I was the chairman of the board of Motor City Casino. When we sold it, I made 60 millionaires, actually 66, and I built 150 clubs worldwide. And I bought and rehabbed the fabulous St. Regis Hotel. Although there was some troubling years when that happened back in 2007, 2008. Detroit was going through major restructuring, and as you know, we eventually filed bankruptcy. Today, I'm a coach, I'm a developer, and my burning desire is to teach you how you can become an investor like yourself. So I can leave my legacy on earth through you. I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, you haven't ever met anyone like me. I do not have a formal education, but I have taught at Harvard, in Cambridge, Massachusetts for about 15 years, from 1993 to about, well, let's say 93, 203, 208, so about 15 years. And that's in the Divinity School and in what we call the Summer Leadership Institute. I've taught at the Ross School of Business in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's many years. Stephen Ross and I have closed 165 million in transactions without me putting up any cash. So in any event, that's enough about me. Let's get on with the show. Did you know that you could take control of a deal without leaving home? Think about it. Everything you need is right here at your fingertips. All you need to know is what to find and where to find it. Are you ready to create wealth using your fingertips? Are you ready to do this? I hope that answer is yes. Because here's places where you're going to find the goods. Blitzing. Now, blitzing is what I call driving down the street, looking for real estate, looking for good deals. You find them just riding down the street. That's my favorite thing. Is most of the buildings I've ever closed, I went up and said, I love that building. And I called the owner and I made the deals. Foreclosures, plenty of them. Share sale, auctions, probate. We'll show you how to find these properties, and then finding the owners and getting the contact information. That's not so hard to do. And there are plenty of sites out here that you can do that. We have some that we like even better. There is white pages, there's Fast People Search, for example. Taxes, utilities, and operating expenses, you can find that. That's not hard. That's public information. Operating expenses, you will tell you what is applicable. What are the appraisers going to come up with? Because you could come up with your numbers, but they got to be numbers that the appraiser would come up with. Now, when you close a lot of deals, appraisers think they're lessons for me. But if you're starting off in the business, it doesn't make sense for you to come up with a crazy number that the appraiser, thus the bank, is not going to buy. So you got to work it backwards, and you got to prove your cap rates. You got to prove what you're doing. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute. You're going to study the market rents, the comps. If you're an agent, you know how to do that. And if you're not an agent, just go up and down the street, find your nice apartment building, and just go up and door and knock and see what the rents are. That's a great way to blitz too at the same time, because you can see the unit inside. And your questions you want to ask is not that much, like who pays the utilities? That's huge. You don't know that from looking at the outside. What is the unit mix? What is the condition? And what is the rent? Those are the kind of things that you need to collect. And then what are your financing options? If you think you're going to borrow it from the bank, figure again. Let me get me a glass of water here. Not the banks. The banks fund CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions. Go look and see how many is in your neighborhood. Then you got to find tenants with stable or guaranteed rents. And there, the good news about there's good in all things, because I'm an optimist, of course. But when you look at what the government is underscoring and underwriting, the foster care aging out program, the ex-felons, prisoner release, and their redevelopment programs. You're talking about the mentally ill. You're talking about the homeless and mentally ill, and you're talking about the veterans. And then Section 8s. This is huge. There's more Section 8s than there are real estate to accommodate them now. And then just purely the elderly community. They're not suffering right now from a shortage of money. As a matter of fact, they haven't been able to go to the casinos lately, so I would figure they're loaded up with money. Use this information to run your formulas and structure a deal. So let's run a pro forma. And I'm going to take you through it pretty quickly because I don't want to bore you, and you may not get it all, but you're going to join me hopefully, and you're going to learn how to do this. Now, here's the pro forma. What is it first? It's a projection of your income and your expense. And what's the objective? To provide the information necessarily to structure the transaction to make sense to you, the seller and the lender. It got to make sense to all of you. So in many cases, you got to say, well, who am I running it from? I'm running it for myself. Here is how it looks. If I'm running it from the lender, I may change a few things like the management fee. I might narrow it down a little bit. I might narrow down the vacancy factor to maybe 5% because the appraiser will buy that juice. Whereas I usually may use a 7%, but I want to stabilize my net operating income as much as possible because I got plenty of debt coverage. Now I know you may not know what I mean, but for every dollar worth of debt service you have or mortgage payment, lender wants you to have $1.25. That quarter is your cash flow. You got plenty of that, so you don't have to worry about it in times like these. Interest rates are the lowest they ever been. So what do you need from the owner that is not public record? Like I told you, the unit mix, 1 and 2s, subsidized rents. Are there subsidized rents? What is the current street rents? That's what somebody like you going up and renting it. And who pays the utilities? And what's your average monthly collection? And you can figure that out just by looking at the cars. If they're raggedy with flats all over the place, it's a tough deal, but that's okay. That could be a great deal as long as you can take and properly manage it and stuff. And if you are not going to manage it, then you're going to have to manage the manager. I'm talking about a management company, and then there's a resident manager there. That's two different things. You got to manage the resident. If you're managing it yourself, you're managing the resident agent. That means you're managing your own property. If you hire a property management company, you got to manage the property management company, monthly meetings and things like that. And where do you find the best performer in the industry, by the way? Needless should we say, yours truly. So let's run the numbers. So here's the deal. And here's 3 secret case studies, buying real estate without investing cash. Now here's a beautiful unit right now. And we're buying this property. We have not yet closed it. But we're buying it right now, one of my students, because in order to graduate from STRATHER Academy, you got to do a deal. You got to go out and either find, fund, finance, fix, or flip. Either to find or fund it or finance it or fix it or flip it. In this case, one of the local students found it, and this gentleman is moving into Detroit, so he's out of town. Now, I'm not going to actually give you this address right now because we're in the middle of putting the deal together, and I don't want the lenders looking at it or anything like that. Well, let's just go over this deal. There's an 8% cap rate we've arrived at, and I'll give you a little brief scenario on cap rates. It's the rate of return, and we'll go over it at the end of the day, but 8% is easy to prove. It's 4 units, vacancy factor, we use it 5%. Insurance cost per unit, $600, maintenance $600, management fee, 5%. Water and sewer per unit. In Detroit, it runs about $550, but utilities is something that you would have to pretty much figure out. What is the electric? per unit, and what with the gas? In this case, there was no gas, so I kind of eliminated some of the lines just to tighten up the performer, but there is a line for gas in our actual performer. And then the cap replacement. When we say cap, that's capital items like stoves, refrigerators, carpeting, roofs, those items. And even if you don't use it that year, you should theoretically set it aside. But many of us ride around in our Cadillacs and we use those replacements for that. In any event, the first mortgage interest rate, look at this, 2.75%. It's the lowest it's ever been. These are the greatest times. You would literally be a fool not to do it right now. If you've ever thought about buying real estate, do it now. You could buy a piece of real estate now for your kids, your child, your grandchild. Just buy it and just let that save all of that money in their account. It shouldn't be in your account. You're in a higher tax bracket. Use them. They don't have any taxes to pay, and let them keep that. And by the time they're 18, 19, depending on how old they are, and you're paying the mortgage down, it is appreciating, and you're getting cash flow. Just think about that. They probably have substantial six figures, 100, maybe even 200,000, or even more, depending on how old they are and what is the appreciative potential of the real estate. But let's get through this. You'll have plenty of time to learn all the details, but I thank you for joining me, and I want to give you the details real good. How you like that? So you got a 30-year mortgage. The mortgage constant, that's the principal and the interest both combined, is 2.75% interest, but don't forget about the principal. So you're going to put down 3.5%. So you're going to borrow 96.5, and you can get a mortgage for that amount. Now look at this here. Let's get this straight. Oops. So we got 4 units. They currently went for 600, and in reality, they should be going for 675. That's the current and the market rate rents. So that's what we're working with here. So let's just take and examine the gross rental income right now is $28,000, and the stabilized would be really 32.4, as you see right here. But let's just go right down this line. The gross rental income is 28.8. The other income is 1,000. That's laundry. Now, this 96.5 is assuming that he's going to actually live there. Now, we're counting 100% of the rents. Let's say he lived there for 1 year and he moved out and bought him a house and took the rents from the 4 unit and paid the house. And that's a good way to do it, you understand? Don't go buy the house first. Buy a 2-flat, a 3-flat, a 4-flat that will pay for the house. Get started on the right foot. But here again is that this is assuming all 4 units. You got vacancy factor. So you got $28,318. So you got taxes of a couple $1,000 a year. It's usually run between 8 to 10%. You've got property insurance, that's $600 a unit. You got maintenance repairs at $600, payroll and taxes. A 4-flat, I mean, usually 5% to 10. But $100 a month, you could probably get by with that on a 4-flat. It doesn't have a very big grass, and what do you need it for? You're not going to have vacancies every month, so it's not like a lot of work. The water, the gas, electric, it automatically populates. Only the thing in yellow you got to fill in. So you got legal, administrative, marketing. Okay, fill it in. It's $12,108, and so the net operating income is 16.2. Now there's a 3% increase that we use. In some cases more. This is 5%. These are 3%. But after you consider the increases, by the way, the capital items never increase. They're the same. They don't increase. Everything else tend to have an increase. So look at this here. You're looking at total operating expenses, $13.8. $18,000 is your NOI. I try to round this off. So we didn't have much of my marketing and other, I used to round off. So 18 is my number. So let's look at it. So with 18 and 8% cap rate, the value is between 200 to 225. I'm using 170 because I don't think the comparables would do it. When I mean comparables would not do it, the comparable rents, the comparable properties that have sold maybe have sold for 40,000 a unit. So if I put this up at 50,000, can I really get that value? I'm not so sure. But remember, what impresses the appraiser most is a purchase agreement. So we'll put it in there. I think 170 would be okay. I think we wrote it up for 175. But here's the price. The seller agreed to take $115,000. There's one unit that got to be rehabbed. And he said, you guys rehab. Okay. Now he bought the property, by the way, for 50 or 60 grand, maybe, 5 or 6 years ago. So he did really, really great. You add your closing costs, 6%. In this case, it said 5%? Okay. Thought it was 6% I used. Okay. So 5% is okay. 5% of 170. And it's about $8,500. This is the credit the buyer gets. He doesn't get none of the seller's money. But the $34,000 that he's going to get for a repair credit, he could be his own contractor. So he'll make 20 grand. Let's say he make 20 grand on that. And then the brokerage commission, you're going to pay a broker like myself or a broker. And that comes to the 170. And this is 28.5. Now, this is the deal the student is doing. We've put the deal together. He expressed his desire. He's buying it from another student who's getting the fee, part of the fee. And this is what we mean by we have to do a deal to graduate. Let's see how he's coming out. A little bit more water. This is getting good. So the new mortgage, 96.5% is $164,050. He have a down payment of 3.5. Don't forget his closing cost was $8,000. And then you got the gross amount the buyer needs is $13,950. Now his closing cost we have here is $8,000, although we believe that I had $8,500 in the closing costs, but that's okay. How much is this actual? It may even be slightly less today. So the gross amount the buyer needs is $13,950, but he got $28,000. So he's pulling out $14,500. Now, isn't that something? Let's go over this again. He's borrowing $1,664.05. That's the only thing that matters. That's what he's borrowing. Okay, and essentially he's not putting any money down. $115,000 is the acquisition of the property. He's going to do the renovations himself. God help him. It's $14,600. Professional fees $11,900. Closing and mortgage cost is $8,500. $150,000. He's pulling out the difference between the mortgage amount and this total cost that he had in it. Now, that's not so hard, is it? Now, here's the deal. Every single deal is different. And so this is why you need a coach. So let's look at the determination of the cap rate. It's an equity rate and a debt rate. And what do we mean is equity? That's the money you get on your money down. And the debt rate is the amount of the rate that the bank charged. And don't forget, the debt constant was our rate. It was 4.9, if you remember at the top of the sheet. So if you want a 15% cash flow and you normally put 25% down, this is the marketplace. Typically, it's 25% down if you're buying income property. So 15% times 25%, your pro rata amount is 3.75, versus only 25%. Then you got 75%. The larger portion is 4.9. That's 3.675, almost the same. So you got a debt rate of 7.42. We could say 7.5. But this community is not a 7.5% cap rate community, so I don't want to push it too far. See, what has happened is that once interest rates drop low, everything is explosive. Theoretically, property values have shot way up, like bonds would shoot up and things like that. But real estate is much slower to react, and they certainly have had a hedge because of the pandemic. People do not know what to do, but my students do. I hope you understand this quickly. If you join the class, you're going to get to perform in all of these wonderful things. Don't worry. So let's get into a case study, okay? So one of the students, like yourself, you said, look, I'm going to try STRATHER out. So she comes in the class, and she has a purchase agreement for $45,000. She hadn't signed it yet, but she had it. And she wanted to do a two-flat using what we call a 203K. Now, what is a 203K? It is that this is residential, and you could do a 203 loan, and it includes rehab. So she's having 45, you add on the rehab, and that's accommodates the full loan. But after it was finished, it was really worth $100,000. So she had closing costs and 30 in repairs, and that's like totaling $80,000. Now, what would we do with such a thing? So her total out of pocket would be 7,000 to 8,000. Let's look at this sheet here. 45,000, we changed it to 70. Her closing cost is 5, it's included in the 70. Her repairs is 30, that's fine. So before she was going to spend $80,000. That's going to be the total consideration. Now we got the total consideration at 100,000. Her actual out-of-pocket cash would have been 7,500. Her out-of-pocket cash now is 3,000. But she get 19,200 back. And that includes the seller agreed upgrades that she is going to do that's over and above the mandatory repairs. She got 30,000 in repairs that have to be done in order to get the mortgage, but that doesn't count a sprinkling system, a central air conditioning, or whatever else the hell she wants to do, that she wants to do herself. Now let's take a look at this. As a result of joining SA, she restructured the transaction and she took out $16,200 rather than invest $7,500. Can you imagine yourself doing that? This is just a regular person. She wasn't an expert. She did own the home across the street, and she gave her kids that house. She moved across the street. But look, here's the goods. Here's the check. She got $19,200. Now, believe me, this is the check. I'm not going to say her name and all of that, but that's the check she got back at the time of closing. You could do the same thing. Here, let's take another deal. Let me give you another example. Now, but before we do this here, what is your job? Your job is to find the property you want to acquire, and preferably where you live, work, play, or pray. Say that. Live, work, play, or pray. If you live on the east side, why would you go on the west side? Like some of this water? Drink some of this juice, huh? If you live on the south side, why are you going to buy on the north side? Unless your mother lived there, your church go there, your girlfriend lived there. You know, where you live, work, play, or pray. And there'd be a big, big difference you'll find out if you got to meet a tenant at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday and you got traffic, and by the time you get there, she's gone, you'll be upset. And then you don't get a chance to see your property enough. If it's live where you live, work, play, or pray, you're always there. Let's keep rolling. As the coach, my job is to get the deal closed for you. You imagine what you want, and we'll get the deal closed. Can you imagine that? Aren't you glad you took this seminar? You can get the deal you want to own from other students also, just like the first player on the 4 unit. They did not find the house. We have a team of students that joined together, and they are all over the United States. And we could put the deals together and you could participate. And your coach would be right there in the middle to keep the peace, to make sure it's all nice and smooth, because we really loved each other. We have a great team. I always sing the song, started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay, so you could joint venture, or you could fund, or you could just finance a deal. You might like to say, well, Herb, let me just go in this joint venture. We're buying up 5 buildings right now on the east side. Always joke about these guys, but this is a good product. Fancy buildings. And one of my own, which is at 12026 Moraine Street. It's a beautiful 4-story building. And I'm just going to buy them up around there. And so what is very interesting, and I'm realizing I'm telling y'all where I'm buying real estate. That's okay if you want to join me. But with our Class Take On projects, we're buying that up. On Calvert Street, we're buying up all the houses on Calvert between Linwood and John Lodge. There's 26 vacant houses, and we already bought 2, and everybody knows we're doing it now. There's about 6 or 8 houses that have now been acquired, and they're under construction right before our very eyes. We don't have to buy them all. If we can encourage the marketplace to get involved in doing improvements, you could joint venture. You could live in California. One of my students joined in December. She's closed 3 deals already. Either way, you're expected to do a deal to graduate. You have to do a deal because everything is different. We believe that you learn best if you do the deal, not by me talking. You run the performance. And we got plenty of days to do it right now. And I keep adding on more and more days and teaching days. We have a state approved class. That's pretty cool, isn't it? 30 hours. Now, so here's a question. Are you here for a little information, or are you willing to make a commitment and succeed? That's what I want to know. Are you willing to do this? Do you want to do this? Will you commit your time? That is absolutely very important. You got to figure out how you're going to do it. You're going to get up earlier in the morning. You're going to have some squeeze out some time. You may have a family. You got to do that. Are you willing to invest your money? You have to pay a tuition. Are you willing to invest in yourself? It's going back to college. You got to go back in and you got to invest your time and your money. And you got to dig deep. This is not a regular college. And you got to bring a burning desire to succeed. You know, if you don't have that burning desire, I think you should really think about if you would really want to join me, because we're like entrepreneurs, people that want this. Now, of course, if you want to say, look, Herb, let me just at least understand it, and I'll tell you if I want to do it. That's a fair proposition. That's a fair proposition. But my experience have been one as a little kid with a burning desire, and I've done it, and I think that's what have propelled me in my life. Here's a deal from a young lady. She graduated from University of Michigan. She's in my class, and her husband, by the way, is a very prominent person in the city of Detroit, works for downtown and City Hall. Let me leave it like that. And so she joined us. Now, her name is Tanya, but let's just get started from the beginning. Finding the deal, funding and financing the deal, how you might be able to participate. So look at this. This is Tanya's deal. So there was Gary and Hassan, so they joined the class and they came in together. They were friends. One day they went blitzing and they found an 8-unit building. It was a beautiful building. Look at it. Oops, I have the address up. I usually don't show the addresses, but that's okay. This building is closed anyway now. So it's south of 8 Mile Road and it's west of Telegraph. It's right at the edge of the city, but it's 850 square feet. I mean, the rents were way under. They were like $500 and some dollars. Can you imagine? They should have been almost $800. They were way low. But these guys, they knocked on the door. The manager let them in. Knock, knock, knock. Let me in. Let me in. The manager let them in. They liked how the apartment looked. They went out. They ran the performance. They said they couldn't even eat. They were choking. And then they ran up and they offered the seller $600. And the seller agreed that they could do the deal because they used some magic words. And it's like, do you care how I do this deal as long as I get you your number? Isn't that something? How does those numbers sound to you? That's a deal that theoretically you can't say no to. If somebody came to me and said, Mr. Strather, I want to buy you a Cadillac. Do you care how I buy it as long as I get your number? I said, I don't care. I want to buy you a building. Do you care how I do it as long as I get you your number? I don't care as long as it's legal and I don't have to pay taxes. And that's what the bottom line, he said. It was legal and he don't have to pay any extra taxes. They were happy because they knew one thing. They were about to be richer. So they took me out and said, hey, it's how we like to do it. So we went through the structure. I said, let's make a deal. Now, here come Tanya, STRATHER Academy student, and she got Kim. Kim is just a beautiful girl. She's 12 years old. She get a lot of A's in school. And so, they set up a trust for her so that she could go to Harvard or Yale or Princeton or wherever she wants to go. And I won't start talking about schools because some of you on the West Coast want to know why I'm only talking about the East Coast. Her trust had financed the deal and had just bought the deal with a $19,000 mortgage. They just did a hard money loan with one of our students on the property, and they acquired it. Isn't that interesting? The property was worth $85,000 to $90,000. Now, I did change the name. This is not exactly their name, but her name starts with a T and the daughter's name starts with a K. How does that sound? So we made a deal. They ran a performer and they offered $340,000 with the houses there, 20% down payment, which was $68,000. That means they were going to borrow $272,000. Well, the seller was going to take back 260, so obviously they would have enough money to buy the house and enough money for the closing costs, and maybe not take very much out, but just maybe a little bit. In the meantime, as a fee, we agreed to take the house as a fee. Now, Kim, she got another A. I said, Kim, me and you did it together, sweetheart. So she was so happy. Yay, I got an A. Now, here's the problem, though. Now, let's go back. But we closed the deal a little early. Once the credit union said, okay, we'll finance it. We didn't want them all involved because they would want to know, well, give me appraisal on the house you traded in and this and that. So we closed the deal about 10 days early. And then essentially we had a refinance, but the credit union had already drunk the juice that it was a primary purchase and not really a refinance. Because if you buy something within the next, and you refinance it, they're going to treat it like a purchase in many cases if it's all done within 6 months, especially with residential. Now, those rules does not necessarily apply, but they could psychologically apply. Anyway, the credit union said, we don't care. We've approved you, and we'll just be a refinance. So she closed temporarily. But here's what happened. The bank turns around and said, we don't want to do an 80% loan. We want to do a 75% loan. Remember, the price was $340. 5% more means that she had to come up with 17 grand. That was really something. She was not very happy. She says, what you going to do now, coach? Now, I get those answers because you may go into a deal and you may get close to the edge. You might get in trouble. It didn't come out. What you going to do, coach? Coach, how should we handle this? And I love being a coach. So here's what we did. Kim and I got together, and we're going to use the house for the 20% down, as we said, and we're going to put up the additional 17, but not down. So if we put the 17 down, then she could get a mortgage for 255. We just put it in the credit union and assign the savings account as additional collateral. So now the credit union have the mortgage on the house and the savings account. They got their 25%. Now, once the values rise, they release it. They release that $17,000. Isn't that wonderful? That's the kind of things that we do. This is real, and guess what? It's closed. If you think I'm joking, just look on the title. It's public record. Now, so here, Tanya, Kim, Gary, Hassan, and the coach. We lived happy ever after. Isn't this wonderful? So they became the 400th student and a half. Now, Kim is in there. They graduated by fully leveraging the transaction. I've had 2,000 people that take my class, but the ones that fully leveraged and pulled out, now a lot of them have, it's probably been more than 400 because I run into them and say, hey, I did buy, I did do this, which is great. But look at this. Let's give them a hand. Okay. Now, here's the good news. This was the amount of check they pulled off. This is a picture of the closing statement. The actual picture on the back is where it was signed. And I would love to show that to you, but I won't. But they pulled out $24,000. So even with the 17, they still had $7,000, $7,625, $7,675.25 cash and bought a beautiful 8 unit. Now, Kimmy is 12, so I mean, they're going to make money on it. They're going to make a good $100,000 for her education. But how about if they did it when she was 2 or 3 even? That would have been something. I mean, she would have had a pile of money. Do you like this? So let's talk about you right now. You know, we have some seats in the class, and we would like to invite you to the good life. Now, how do you feel? I mean, how do you feel about doing a deal that where you're going to make tens of thousands of dollars at one time? Would you do it? Wait. Are you ready to find or fund and finance and finalize a $10 million transaction? So, you know what I'm going to show you? The picture. Listen, you don't have to try this home alone. That's one thing I want you to realize. You can acquire millions in real estate without cash, because that's what I've done. But don't do it home alone. Take your coach with you. I often joke about the idea that I don't have any eyebrows. You see that? Now, what do you think happened? You know what happened? I was cooking. And when I was cooking, the grease splattered and it caught my eyebrows and it was on fire. And then I put them out. Ooh. See, so that shows you I shouldn't have been cooking home alone. Okay, that's a little joke, but everybody likes it. I know my jokes may not be funny, but let me tell you something too. If you join the class and you tell jokes that's not funny, you're gonna pay $2. You understand? So I've had to pay $16 over the last 3 or 4 years. Now, what is our Strather Academy students saying? I want you to listen to them. These are people who have taken the class, I would say who have been forced to get rich or who have done a deal, stepped up and did it. Let's look at what they say.
I was a mortgage loan officer for 22 years, and I just got burnt out. It got to where it wasn't any fun anymore. And so I wanted to do something different. I had been looking for something different for a while, but I didn't know exactly what. So I got laid off at the bank I was working for, and it was okay for a couple of months, and I started going crazy. You know, I needed something to do. And so I started looking to investing in real estate.
I received a deal where I had no cash down, no money, and I got a house that's currently worth over $100,000 for free and clear.
I'm 61 years old. I never thought I would do real estate, never thought. I took Herb Strather's class, and I was so outdone with what he do that I told all 8 of my children they need to take this class.
He knows it so intricately, it's just like knowing it on the back of his hand, and that makes it easy for him to transact business. Because he knows so much of it, and because he knows how it works, and because he knows the ins and outs of it, he knows which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones you should buy, which ones have value, which ones are going to go up in value, which ones are going to go down, what's a good deal, what isn't a good deal, you know, the type of people that live in them. I mean, he knows everything about them, and that's what makes the biggest difference. He knows how to make an impact.
Well, it was quite a mind opener. I really never thought of structuring deals like that. I've done a little bit of investing before, but nothing like this. I mean, it's been really quite a mind opener.
For me, it's been really, really easy. I can't say that it's been difficult at all. I tell anybody, take the classes, learn what you need to learn, and then pull the trigger.
Herb's been awesome. He's like taking our hand and holding our hand all the way through it, which is what I really needed. He's put it in a whole different light than what I've ever heard anybody put it before. So it's been real exceptional for me, actually.
Interest rates go up and down, and knowing how to get in and get out, and then knowing how to play in the high interest rate market, how to play in the low interest rate market, how to play in the market when it's hard to get financing. So for him, it never really changes. It's just a matter of the market around him changes and how to adapt to it. So for him, it's always just the same fun game. How do I get the deal done? How do I structure it? Irregardless of if it can be done or not, according to what that person over there says, I know I can do it. I just got to figure out how to put it together and how to make it happen. And that's what he's good at.
Season is here. This is not going to last that long. You know, the change that you're looking for is right here today.
In total, I invested about approximately $20,000 in properties, and the net worth on that today is worth about $500,000, and did that just in 2 years.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it? You know, Anton in the class, he just left here a few minutes ago. He bought a deal for 140, fixed it up. We got him a mortgage for 295. He made money on the fix up, and now we're selling it for $600,000, $100,000 a unit. It's a beautiful property. One of you may want to buy it. It's on Woodrow Wilson, 1 block behind Boston Boulevard. And guess what? We're gonna fully finance. I better not say that too loud because some of the lenders say, Herb, I saw your seminar. You know, I know what you're walking in here to do, right? But let me tell you something. This is your chance to do it. Just write down your dreams. Lord, this is what I want. And just don't make it all about money. Make it trying to help someone. And then you get ready, psychologically ready. Get your mind prepared. You meditate. And I want you to read The Secret. Read it, look at it. It's on YouTube several times. And then I'm going to show you in our book is Getting Ready, Taking Action. Here, these are the 6 books you're going to get when you join me. This is one of them. This here, and you're going to figure out here, writing your goals down and your dreams down. And we have what you call a BYOB, where we loan you the money to put in your credit union and borrow it back out and give us our money. We loan you up to 25 grand automatically. And I won't get too complicated in it, but it will help you to build a balance sheet, especially if your LLC borrows the money and the CD is in your name. Taking action, going out blitzing, finding those deals. You know, I wrote each one of these myself. And this is just a performer only. Look at all the information that we're going to show you about the performer. All of this, how to run it. So I talk pretty fast, but it's much more in depth than that. And then deal making, how to approach them. Now we could do the deal 10 different ways. We could show you how to finance a deal without putting up cash. We could do a bargain gift sale, you understand? And subject to Internal Revenue Code 170. I've done at least a dozen of them. You could do a joint venture. You could join an LLC and go to the bank as a borrower. You could just go on and on and on. You could use, you could do a joint venture. When I say joint venture, it's a whole bunch of joint ventures. You could do them with participating promissory notes if you don't have the balance sheet. We'll take a joint venture with you. But we're not here to put our feet in all of your deals. If it's a substantial deal, yes, we'll joint venture if it's $1 million or more. But if you got you a 6 unit, an 8 unit, a 12 unit, I'm not going to go take each your deal. No. If you need me and you want me, that's different. The glossary, so you understand what I'm talking about. Debt, constant, cap rates, what's all that stuff? And this is the workbook. The workbook is where your goals are at and where you have to fill out stuff. Just the goals itself is kind of interesting. This is your balance sheet, you got to fill that out. But just your goal sheet, how many questions are on the goal sheet? I would say you got, this is page 14, you got a good 9 pages of just goal setting. Because I want to know your dreams. And I want you to believe. I was lucky enough to believe. You know, when did it happen? The hour. First believed. That's what it happens. I'm a little emotional, you know that. But, see this building here? This is a 2340 Calvert. One of my students bought it. His name is Paul. Paul Reiser, I'm using his name. His father was a famous Motown writer. He wrote, I Believe I Can Fly. He wrote a lot of just great songs for Motown, Temptations, and on and on and on. Paul have closed almost a dozen deals. He is so energetic because he believes. Now, here's the time you can reboot yourself and learn from me. I'll give you everything. Visualize your goals and dreams. You know, I can't do this for you. You got to be willing to commit your time, your money, your energy, your mindset. And you got to be willing to help other people. And then you got to take your date blitzing instead of the movies. Say, baby, look here, let's go look for some real estate. How do you like that? Improve your credit score and your balance sheet simultaneously. The BYOB, be your own bank when I loan you the money to do your balance sheet. And we'll try you how to scrub your credit report. You got to enhance it and scrub it all at the same time. So what if you got a 700 credit score? How about an 800 credit score? And so what if you got an 800 credit score? You can go up to 900. Then close a big deal. And then you will believe. There you go. You believe. Now, here's an invitation for you to join STRATHER Academy 30-hour state-approved acquisition and development course, where we're going to teach you how to buy real estate without cash. We don't allow it. Now, some of you say, look, I just want to pay cash. Okay, there's a model for that, the very cheapest price, and we'll deal with, especially sheriff sales and things like that. You have to come up with cash anyway at an auction. We know that. So we're not going to say that you never have cash, because you got to have cash in the bank, or you got to know somebody to have cash. Let's get that straight. I didn't say cash wasn't required. I said we like to leverage it where you don't use it. Now, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get six quick books, which I've just showed you, okay? And these are the titles on these books. And that's got to be a $1,500 value because of the training video you're going to get. So you're going to get the books. Now, the books are, this set of books is $499 for this home study course in reality. That's really all it is if someone just wanted to train all by themselves and just read the books. You understand? But if you want to get involved, I mean, that's the cost of the raw material. But, you know, we have training videos and just a student corner, and we can give all of that to you. That's a $1,500 value. And then here's what else you get. You get an interview for your tactics and strategies to accomplish your goal. Everybody get that during the course sometime. You get credit enhancements strategies, rapid rescoring, BYOB, that's worth $2,500. You get 20 hours of live interactive class. And this is no ordinary class. I tell my kids, this is no ordinary love. This is no ordinary class. And just talk to any of my students. Minimum 10-hour review, $2,500. It's got to be worth that. We've just added this. So what you do, you have a situation where Mondays we meet from 6 to 8, and then on Wednesdays we're going to meet. It's optional for them to come Wednesday to review what they have, answer questions, and then on Saturdays they get coaching, group coaching. And I keep adding. It started off with Monday, and I added the classes because I love teaching. And when the class is over, you know, everybody's hanging around for another half an hour, nobody want to go nowhere. So, and it was like that when I was teaching at the colleges. They would not leave. The latest we've left, of course, class is 2 a.m. in the morning. So essay, we have great websites for you. Use my forms. They're not like the forms you use, my realtors. Now, I'm a realtor. I'm on the board of directors of Detroit Association of Realtors, and but I don't use the forms. Now, truthfully, most of my deals are commercial anyway, so I probably wouldn't, but we do have 5 or 6 residential agents that use my forms, and sometimes they use the board form. STRATHER Academy got a great library where you can see just tons of our stuff. You know, if you want to do a deal, how do I do a deal, Herb, on a gift sale, a bargain gift sale? We'll show you how to do it. How do I structure a structured purchase agreement so I get cash back in time? Herb, how do I do a joint venture where we contribute services such as management, guarantee, construction, and the owner contribute the property? We refinance and do the guarantee. He pulls out cash without having to sign because it's a limited partnership, for example, for him. And we have to sign because we're the principals, but yet we do a participating promissory note and take a disproportionate amount of the cash out of the transaction. Because he would have gotten his money, in most cases, or most of it, without taxes. I know that's fast, but don't worry about it. We'll go slower. And you get 2 years of personal coaching to close your deals. Deal like Paul, deal after deal after deal after deal after deal after deal. Paul have twins, and believe me, he's crazy about his twins. Speaking of that, we got a gentleman in the class with triplets. They're identical. 2 girls and a boy that look exactly like. We are so excited. You got to join us just for that, because we're going to take and get those kids. We're going to structure those transactions. And the father took his cash and invested in the class. And he did get a semi-scholarship for some of it. I was so impressed that he would do that because he believed in me that much. And he says, I got to learn and do this for my kids. And for that, he gets rewarded. Now, all students are required to close and make money on a deal in order to graduate. So we're looking at $38,500 value. But let me show you this now. Let me tell you this. If you act today, you get an hour of entity consultation. What do I mean that? Let's talk about how to set up the very, very best entity for yourself. Is it a master or a family limited liability company, a LC3, a low income limited liability company, a nonprofit with a 501c3 tax exemption? And this is important. You know where you're going to go. What vehicle are you going to drive to get there? That's a $1,500 value. All of these together, I'm going to say, is worth Well, one more. The book, Which Way is Detroit? I wrote it myself. How you like that? This is my book, Which Way is Detroit? And guess what I'm going to do for you? I am going to take, this book's tell you where all the great places to invest in Detroit, every single zip code, structuring the transactions. Oh my God, this is a great book. And I'm gonna sign 100 of these and initial it. And I'm fixed to release it. And those who sign get a signed copy. It's about to be released now. So join us. Now the price on that is priceless. My signature, my friendship. So what does this all come to? Think about it. First, what are you gonna get? 6 books, that's $1,500. Personal interviews, credit enhancement, minimum 20 hours, online interactive classes. There ain't no class ever ended on time, they all go. Minimum 10 hours review of testing, minimum 10-hour group coaching, websites, creative forums, Strat Academy library, 2 years of personal coaching to close your deal or deals, continued relationship thereafter, bonus. This is the bonus. Now, the bonus is important because I can only do so many of those because there's so many hours in the day if you have one-to-one sit down. So it's going to be for those who really act first. And then the other bonus is going to be priceless, Which Way is Detroit? Ultimately creating wealth for you, your family, and your future. Forever. And it's a value that's much greater than $41,500. Now, before you leave, I told you if you hang around, I have something good for you, didn't I? So for those of you who are willing to act today, guess what you're going to be able to get this deal? So buckle up. I told you I was a nice guy. $3,200. Financing, we're rolling out our national platform. Now, it's not going to be $3,200 forever. Because if you've been to any of the platforms, you know everybody else wants 30, 40 to 50 grand. But for those who are brave enough to say, yes, I do, I want it, $3,200, take out your credit card, your cash out, make it happen. It's the very best value, but I do have some financing options for you. Now the financing options is going to be a little bit more, perhaps. So let's just go over this and understand. You can pay in full and you get the full bonuses. And that's for the first, we'll join within 24 hours. If you know you want to do this, I got it, I want it. Then you got the confidence. You said, you believe in me, do it. And you're gonna get a signed autograph copy of my book and you're gonna get my attention. Or you get, if you don't have 3,200, you could get financing, fully financing, it would be $3,200 also. We could take you and let you use PayPal, for example. And we'll handle that. Just hit this button and schedule an appointment for financing. You can hit one of these buttons. Now, if you're not gonna do the financing, so Herb, I like to have it self-financed. It's $3,600 under that case, but that's all right. It's still only 6% of what the real value is. It's not even 10% of the value. You put $1,200 down and you give us 3 easy payments of $800. And the reason that I say easy is because you may just close the deal. If you close the deal, your deal is going to pay for this. You are required to close the deal. Plus, you're not listening by an error. You looked at this link and it happened to you. And the big fella upstairs have put us together. So I want to, first of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for that burning desire. And I extend the invitation to you to the good one. Join me. This is Herb Strather, and I'm signing off. I'll see you.
I was a mortgage loan officer for 22 years, and I just got burnt out. It got to where it wasn't any fun anymore. And so I wanted to do something different. I had been looking for something different for a while, but I didn't know exactly what. So I got laid off at the bank I was working for, and it was okay for a couple of months, and I started going crazy. I needed something to do. And so I started looking into investing in real estate.
I received a deal where I had no cash down, no money, and I got a house that's currently worth over $100,000 for free and clear.
I'm 61 years old. I never thought I would do real estate, never thought. I took Herb Strather's class and I was so outdone with what he do that I told all 8 of my children they need to take this class.
He knows it so intricately, it's just like knowing it on the back of his hand. And that makes it easy for him to transact business. Because he knows so much of it, and because he knows how it works, and because he knows the ins and outs of it, he knows which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones you should buy, which ones have value, which ones are going to go up in value, which ones are going to go down, what's a good deal, what isn't a good deal, you know, the type of people that live in them. I mean, he knows everything about them, and that's what makes the biggest difference. He knows how to make an impact.
Well, it was quite a mind opener. I really never thought of structuring deals like that. I've done a little bit of investing before, but nothing like this. I mean, it's been really quite a mind opener.
For me, it's been really, really easy. I can't say that it's been difficult at all. I tell anybody, take the classes, learn what you need to learn, and then pull the trigger.
Herb's been awesome. He's like taking our hand and holding our hand all the way through it, which is what I really needed. He's put it in a whole different light than what I've ever heard anybody put it before. So it's been real exceptional for me, actually.
Interest rates go up and down, and knowing how to get in and get out, and then knowing how to play in the high interest rate market, how to play in the low interest rate market, how to play in the market when it's hard to get financing. So for him, it never really changes. It's just a matter of the market around him changes and how to adapt to it. So for him, it's always just the same fun game. How do I get the deal done? How do I structure it? Irregardless of if it can be done or not, according to what that person over there says, I know I can do it. I just got to figure out how to put it together and how to make it happen. And that's what he's good at.
Season is here. This is not going to last that long. You know, the change that you're looking for is right here today.
In total, I invested about approximately $20,000 in properties, and the net worth on that today is worth about $500,000, and did that just in 2 years.